You're tuned in to a Georgian College podcast, brought to you by the School of Computer Studies.
Alright, so where we left off the last time was we were starting to plan for our drawing, our coding onto Canvas. And so this is where we left off. We said that we identified that there was a square, we identified the lines and the circles, and we look at where they would be located on the canvas. Now, so the idea is to get again to this point where we have something drawn on the canvas. So now the next step would be to learn some of the actual functions or the actual commands to draw lines on canvas. So in order to do that, it'd be good to have sort of a cheat sheet for it. And I created or added a link for that, and if you could do that, or you can just type in to Google and ask for Canvas cheat sheet. And the second one, which is the PDF, shows you the Canvas cheat sheet, and these are the commands that we'll be using. So how about we start with I guess since we on the planning stage document I started with the square. Let's start with that then. Alright, so in order to draw a square, in this case a filled square or a filled rectangle, the first thing is you have to specify the color of the fill. So in this case, mine is just not quite full red, but a bit of red. So the way to do it is to say fill style equals and specify the RGB. So red, green, blue, and it's 200, then 0 on the green, 0 on the blue, and that would be the command. Semicolon at the end. And the next thing would be essentially to specify where the rectangle is. And to do that, it's a fill rect or filled rectangle. You specify its top left corner, which we in our planning document noted that it was 100. And then we'll specify the width and the height, which in this case is 200, and again 200. So we'll type in 100 for the top left corner, 200 for the width, 200 for the height. And that draws a filled rectangle. Alright. Now, when we actually begin to code, we would have to specify to JavaScript to exactly where to send the commands to, and we'll get to that in the next screencast. But just to let you know that we will have to specify a variable that references the context that's on the canvas, and later on you'll notice that I use ctx, and that's just a variable or the object that references the context on the canvas. ctx is just a variable name, and it could really be anything. Alright, now let's say that you wanted to create a black outline of this rectangle. Well, if you're going to draw lines, you should specify the width of the line. So in this case, let's say I want it to be twice as big as what the normal default would be. You can also specify the stroke style, that is the color of the stroke, and maybe this time I want it to be black. Now the stroke style and the fill style and line width, they will remain that way until another fill style or stroke style changes that. So for example, if from this on I don't change the fill style, everything that I do that is fill will be red, and anything that is a line will be black. Alright, so to create a rectangle without a fill, it is stroke rect. In this case, it will have the same values as fill rect. The rectangle still starts at 100, 100, and it still has the same width of 200 and 200. All right, so that's for drawing a rectangle. All right. So again, we're not quite coding yet formally. We're beginning to code. We're beginning to plan for the coding part. So how about drawing a line? Well, drawing a line, again, you specify the line width and the stroke style, and essentially for drawing a line, it's actually a bit more complex, because normally a line is just beginning point, ending point. But in Canvas, you can actually create a very complex figure by drawing lines that are connected. So the first thing you have to say is begin path, because what you're telling Canvas is you're about to begin a series of points. Then you have to move the pen, if you will, to a certain point on the canvas. In this case, my first diagonal, if you just go back to the planning thing, so my first diagonal line is from 100, 100, and then it goes 300, 300. All right. So 100, 100. So we specify the starting point. And then we say line 2, that is create a line from the first point 100, 100 to 300, 300. And then we want to close the path, because in this case our line actually only is 2 points. But again, you can create multiple points and create a path with many points. You just have to keep saying line 2, then line 2, then line 2. And after you've done that, you can say stroke, and that will actually draw the line. All right, so how about the circle? Drawing the circle, it requires 5 required parameters. The first 2 is the center of the circle, and then the next one is the radius of the circle, and then lastly we're actually going to be using an arc to draw a circle. So and a circle is really just a complete closed arc. So the next 2 parameters are the beginning angle and beginning angle and the ending angle, and they're specified in radians. So I'll explain that in a second. So we say draw arc, and then we say we actually do a begin path again, because you can actually make very complex things with a series of arcs. So draw arc. So my first the big circle has a center of 200, 200 and a radius of 60. So 200, 200, the center of the arc or the center of the circle, 60 radius, and then beyond that I want to make a circle. So in this case my starting angle is 0 and my ending angle is 6.28. So why 6.28? Well, 6.28 happens to be 2 times pi. Pi happens to be 3.14, and so that is equal to 6.28. So that makes a complete circle. All right, so just remember that, because now if you want to get more fancy and draw arcs, then by all means, learn a bit more on that. But basically, drawing a circle, beginning angle 0, ending angle 6.28. We close the path. All right, now if you want to stroke it, and you can say stroke, so that will, we say fill, that will fill the circle. And then stroke if you want to give it an outside outline. All right, and that's how that's the canvas commands. And in the next screencast, we will now move from having looked at that and learn some of that into actually beginning to code on the canvas. All right, so we'll see you in the next screencast.